to me and a lot of other people is, we've had reporting for some time. Donald Trump is not on Epstein's list. There's nothing in there that's really damning about Donald Trump. And as Susie Wild says, not damning about Donald Trump.
According to the chief.
Or Bill Clinton. So one of the great mysteries
George
all along
Stephanopoulos.
in this, not been like, what's Donald Trump hiding? What did he do? Da-da-da-da. It's like, why, if he's not in these files, which all the reporting says he's not, why is he so obsessed on blocking access to the files? Is he trying to protect somebody?
Joe, you got to the actual heart of the question, and it's actually not been reported. One of the reasons Marjorie Taylor Greene got on board with Massey and my effort is she fundamentally believed that Trump was not implicated.
Yeah.
And she would call the president and say, look, just get these out. I don't know why you're not getting it out. And she would tell Massey and me, of course he's going to come around. And every press conference we had, we never made it about Donald Trump. We made it about the survivors. The survivors pleaded with Donald Trump. You can be a hero. No previous president has done this. Release the files. And what people are asking, and frankly, even I'm asking, is what are they hiding? Why is it that they're not releasing the draft 60-count indictment when they only charged Epstein with 2 counts?
I think the real question that everyone should be asking, and let me know if you agree. Okay, Patricia, guys in the chat, Canary King is in the chat. Greetings, Canary King. The real question that everyone should be asking is, why was it that for 4 years under Joe Biden's presidency, they didn't release the files? Okay, simply speculating that President Trump is protecting someone, or maybe it's about him, is all foolishness.
Well, the damage done to the Prince of England was tremendous when it came out.
Yeah.
And he's not the only foreign dignitary that can be named with Epstein. It's not just Democrats, Republican politicians in America, but it's foreign dignitaries also.
Okay.
And releasing that information could cause a boomerang around the world.
Okay. Now, I have a question here in the chat. Okay. So they're asking us, question the multiple blackouts. I guess they're referring to the redactions.
Those are probably names of the victims.
Yeah.
And it may be some foreign dignitaries, foreign leaders and stuff that they don't want people naming.
Yeah. So so Pink Panther, maybe it's foreign dignitaries,
Yeah.
or people that they don't want being named, or the victims. You know, so that's the assumption. So now we have left-wing media saying they've moved from Trump is in the Epstein files, and they've shifted over to, well, he's not in the files exactly, but he may be protecting someone. So let's keep listening, and then we'll definitely be rounding back to your comments. Keep the comments coming in the chat. We will respond.
Why aren't they releasing the 82-page prosecution memo of all the implications he had with rich and powerful folks? Why are they protecting this Epstein class? And why aren't they releasing the FBI interviews? Every time they do one of these things of concealing, they're just raising further doubt. Yeah.
The through line, as I listen to the criticism you have rightfully of Silicon Valley, which is the area you represent, as well as the Epstein files and the Epstein class, is that there just never has felt like so big a gap between what the elites, a network of people, want you to know and what's actually happening in this country. And I'm just wondering if the Epstein story to you is just clearly the thing that reconfigures in a bipartisan way what has been one aisle versus another, because this is deliberately you and Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene and a bunch of people getting together in ways that we have not seen before. Is this the thing that you think reconfigures American politics, to be very blunt about it?
It surprisingly has been. It's not something Massey and I started out thinking would.
Well,
Now, Massey is from Northern Kentucky.
Okay.
And one thing I keep telling people, nobody's going to jail over this until a victim files a lawsuit.
All right. And that isn't going to happen.
No, I don't expect it to ever happen.
Yeah. So
Because those
yeah, go on.
girls are young. And why should their lives be destroyed for somebody who's dead?
Yeah.
And a former president that none of this will ever stick to,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
So speaking of former presidents that none of this will stick to, here's Don Lemon giving his sentiment on Bill Clinton showing up on the Epstein files.
All of these pictures of Donald Trump, where did they go? Why didn't they release them? And they say they want to protect people. They have been redacting people's faces because they don't want them. They say, oh, just because you're in there, you shouldn't be implicated and blah, 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 blah. But they want to put Bill Clinton's face out there and his pictures out there. And it's like, wait a minute. We know that Donald Trump is in there a lot more than Bill Clinton. So what is this whole thing of Bill Clinton?
Oh,
They're
no,
playing
it's
in our
not.
faces. They are punking us. They think that people care that oh my God, they're going to be embarrassed that Bill Clinton is in. But nobody's embarrassed that Bill Clinton is in there. Bill Clinton is in there and something happened, then fine. Bill Clinton deserves whatever he gets.
So according to Don Lemon,
It's fine that he's in there.
It's fine. Okay, we don't care that a Democrat president, one of the most popular Democrat presidents, is in there. We don't care. All we care about is finding Trump in the Epstein file. So you have TDSBC saying whatever it is they want to say on the day. And then you have Don Lemon feeding his crowd with what they want. They want President Trump to be on the Epstein files. And now that it's clear that he isn't on the Epstein files, they're accusing the FBI and the DOJ of purging the Epstein files of pictures of Donald Trump. Don Lemon, get a grip. You guys had the House, the Senate, the presidency for 4 years, and you didn't release the files with all these photos of Trump in them. Okay, so
There never was pictures of Trump.
Never were.
Rising positions.
Yeah.
With Epstein.
That never happened. Okay. Canary King says in the chat, and remember, if you're watching for the first time and you're enjoying the engagement, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell icon when you subscribe, and leave a comment in the chat, okay? Canary King says, Bill Gates still hasn't come clean on what he was doing with Epstein.
Yeah. Bill Gates.
And people claim that Melinda divorced him because of his connection with Epstein.
She probably did.
So Canary King also says, the Epstein suicide was really strange and so perfectly convenient.
Well, don't ever involve somebody that's got the dirty goods on the Clintons to survive long.
That is a fact. All right, so let's know.
Just die off.
They do. You have people, you have the most miraculous suicides happening where someone was able to both hang themselves and shoot themselves with a shotgun. So
now the transportation secretary that was in the White House,
yeah,
found in a park and had evidently shot himself in the head with a gun.
Oh, okay.
They found rug fibers on his coat. So evidently he was rolled up in a rug and delivered to the park.
Okay. Well, conveniently, no one is talking about that. No one is asking questions because the Clinton presidency was fantastic. It was amazing. It did all these great things like signing the current immigration law that ICE is using. It was under his presidency that was signed. Okay, so it was Democrats that created the laws that ICE is currently enforcing. It was under his watch that having intercourse in the Oval Office was a thing, and it was made cool because he was said to be smoking a cigar while that was happening. He did a lot of great things for the presidency.
He didn't smoke the cigar. He used the cigar.
Okay, let's move on. I'm trying to figure out what that would look like, but let's move on. Okay, so let's know your thoughts. Where we will always circle back to your comments in the chat. Okay, now a federal judge has just ruled that you shouldn't enforce the law because it's the holidays. Okay, he essentially is saying that the accused gang member, Abrego Garcia, should not be arrested during the holiday seasons. All right. He wants us to observe the holidays and ensure that federal law is not enforced simply because, it's the holidays.
The government gave the district judge gave the government until the 26th of December, that is to say Friday, to actually answer the question. What is your plan for Mr. Abrego Garcia? Are you planning to rearrest him? If so, why? We'll then have the opportunity to respond to that, and then based on that, the judge will decide whether to convert her temporary order prohibiting his rearrest into a permanent order or whether to dissolve it. So as of right now, Mr. Abrego Garcia is going to return to his home with his wife and his children and his family members in Maryland. And he will be at home through Christmas and New Year.
They have more power than the federal government.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Maryland citizen.
The Maryland man.
Yeah.
The Maryland man. Look, okay, so guys in the chat.
Standing back there on his over that guy's shoulder.
Look, they've
don't look happy about it.
Well, does she have a choice? Does she have a choice? She lives in a minority community.
He's gonna beat her up if she says anything that goes against him.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That's what he does.
Yeah. So, Intergalactic Wrangler says, hello, folks. And yeah, hello. So if you're watching, don't be shy. Say hi. And let's know where you're watching from. Okay. Let's know where you're watching from. So, in essence, he's going to be home for Christmas, Boxing Day, and the New Year.
According to a district judge that does not have the power to override a federal immigration judge.
Yeah. So Pink Panther is in the chat and he's asking, or they're asking, has there been proof of the accusation regarding Abrego Garcia that he beats his wife and that he essentially attempted to transport people across state lines, human trafficking? All of that they're all in court documents.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Garcia was stopped in Tennessee with a bunch of illegal aliens in the vehicle with him.
Yeah.
And they had no luggage. And they were driving, according to Garcia, I think from Florida to New York. And no luggage.
Yeah.
No luggage.
So there's proof out there. Okay. The question right now is deportation because he's been shown to be affiliated with Tren de Aragua. He's been shown to be
MS-13.
MS-13, sorry, not Tren de Aragua. MS-13. Thank you for that, Patricia. And then he's also been, there have been reports of him being violent against his spouse. Okay.
And that was court records that she had filed charges and then dropped them. Yeah.
And then, you have the human trafficking allegations.
Also did not want to be sent back to El Salvador because a rival gang would kill him.
Yeah. So that kind of cements his connection with MS-13. So, sometimes, okay, not just sometimes, all the time, we need to look for proof. And I like the fact that you're asking if there's proof of the accusations, and I appreciate it. All right.
The major proof is he did not enter this country legally.
Yeah. So it is not any of those other questions. Now, Pink Panther is doubling down, okay, and he's saying there has not been documented information. This is documented information, okay. The focus
It's
of
not hearsay. It's they actually have the film footage from the stop in Tennessee from the Tennessee Police Department.
Yeah.
There's actually film about it.
Yeah. So the conversation isn't hearsay. All right. So we do try to figure out what is hearsay and what isn't. And this is not hearsay. Okay. Now, so we want to wish the Abrego Garcia family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, since they'll be spending time together happily. And then this story, of course, is not going away. It's out there, and we're going to continue to see updates on whether another federal judge is going to block
this little district court judge's little sideways actions.
Yeah. Now, before we jump to the next story, Intergalactic Wrangler says this: I've been studying super cavitation and underwater submersibles, trying to shift gears back to politics. Had a run-in with Grok AI today. Voice changer to a dude, and I had a witness. Was weird. Okay, so while you were doing research, something happened while you were doing research, and you had a witness? Okay, so what is super cavitation and underwater submersibles? I'm trying to understand
Cavitation.
What went on.
Studies.
Trying to shift gears back to politics. Had a run-in with Grok today. Voice changer to a dude. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you kind of send that statement back, and then we'll kind of figure out what
cavitation, the exploration of caves underwater.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that, but asking Intergalactica that one.
Yeah, so we just need to know what happened. Okay, so he says it's he's referring to high speed underwater craft. Okay, so he was studying that.
Unidentified underwater craft.
Well, okay, so we're gonna jump into the next story, and Intergalactic Wrangler, let's hear exactly what you want us to hear, okay, so that we can respond to it properly. Now, we're heading down the corridor of weirdos now. This is the corridor of weirdos, where people essentially try to convince the rest of us that something that is blatantly wrong is us being compassionate. All right, so let's hear Representative Ayanna Presley essentially insinuates that it is not Christian to oppose taxpayer-funded child sex change.
Every parent wants to keep their child safe, wants their child to grow without pain, to sleep through the night without fear or suffering. But when our children are growing up, it is inevitable that they will need medical care, a fall from a bike, a broken arm on the playground. Parents rush into the doctor's office, they bandage scraped knees, they hold their child's hand and wipe away tears while their pediatrician lays out a plan. And in these moments, that urgent question on that parent's mind is, what does my child need to be okay? A broken bone, asthma, gender dysphoria, diabetes, whatever the presenting issue is, a treatment plan takes shape. For some families, what their children need to be okay is access to gender-affirming care.
Seriously.
Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder.
So my
surgery, it needs therapy.
So my daughter, spent the last couple of weeks going through a phase with one of her teeth. Her milk teeth are falling out, and she's growing in, new teeth.
Yes.
And she spends hours each day complaining that she's uncomfortable. Her teeth, her tooth feels uncomfortable, that she needs something done to make the pain stop. And we had to tell her, look, it's part of the process. You have two options. One, we get a pair of pliers and yank it out for you.
Tie a string on it, attach it to a doorknob.
Yeah.
Slam the door shut.
Slam the door shut, or you let it run its course. And sometimes you teach children to basically persevere through whatever it is they're going through, and it makes them stronger. Okay?
It's not going to kill them.
It's not going to. So what she's trying to say is essentially chopping things off when kids feel like they are in a different body is the solution to everything.
A lot of my friends have discussed while we were growing up the things we used to do in play. And we played football with the guys. We played basketball. We played baseball with them. We played what we called war with dirt clods and sticks for guns.
Yeah.
And just because us girls did that and climbed trees and swung on grapevines, our parents did not think to tell us, oh, you're just being a boy. They might have called us tomboys, but we had fun.
Yeah.
We didn't think of ourselves as being a boy. We were just goofing around and having fun in the neighborhood. And we all wore our little pink dresses with our black Mary Jane strapped shoes to church on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, so let's keep listening to this, because I guess she'll make a point that might convince us that she's right, I guess. So let's see.
Using what girls are doing,
Yeah.
that boys do, for the reason to tell them, oh, you're a boy.
Yeah.
Care that is safe, evidence-based, and recognized as essential
Evidence-based.
by every major medical association. Care that for some children is the difference between despair and hope, between isolation and community, between surviving and thriving. And yet today, we are debating a bill that would tell parents on Medicaid that their child's pain is unworthy of care, that their doctor's judgment does not matter, that politicians know better than parents sitting in exam rooms. Cole, a young person from Massachusetts, wrote to me and said, transgender people deserve the same chance to thrive and live fulfilling lives as everyone else. Having the freedom to control our bodies and seek the health care we need, including gender-affirming care, is an essential right for all people. I agree. To Cole and every person who is trans or non-binary, let me speak plainly, you belong. You are enough. And you deserve to show up in this world as your full, authentic self. You deserve to grow up. You deserve to grow old. Healthcare is a human right, and parents doing everything they can to make sure their child is okay deserve support, not interference, and certainly not cruelty. I don't know what God y'all pray to, but the one that I know is a loving God. And he does not discriminate. His love does not discriminate. He loves all the children, including the trans children. Healthcare is a human right, and parents doing everything they can to make sure their child is okay deserve support. Shame on this bill. Shame on an agenda that strips healthcare away from vulnerable children, and shame on anyone who votes to deny care to families trying to do right by their kids.
All right, so before you jump in, I know you're chomping at the bits to jump on this one. Let's look at what Intergalactic Wrangler says, because it says something really cool, and it takes me back to the 80s. Okay, so I'm not as old as Intergalactic Wrangler is, and I'm definitely not, I didn't live in the 60s or in 70s, but I grew up in the 80s on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, and we did stuff like this. Okay, he says he's asking us to look up super cavitation, and you know what? It's something that we could do on a Friday. Okay, so Intergalactic Wrangler, we're going to add that to the list of stuff we talk about on Friday nights. Okay, now he says, I remember kissing tag. And, just kiss and then you run. And then you basically, I guess that's what he's describing. Okay. You get in trouble now if you try that. Okay. Where you were born in 79. Jeez. Okay. So I'm older than you are.
I was born in 55 and it was called Spin the Bottle.
I thought I was older than he was, or so that he was older than I was. But right now, I'm looking at his age and I'm like, okay, I'm older than he is. So, okay, so yeah, there were things that kids could do today. If you tried playing kissing tag, someone would be filing an abuse.
Harassment.
Yeah. Okay. And then Intergalactic Raga says kids had freedom. Now everyone's noses are stuck in the phone. You know? Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, I like what we're trying to do here on the channel where, whoever you are, whatever your convictions are, we can come together and just have a conversation, and then hang out for a couple of hours or an hour and then, yeah, Patricia?
One point that Presley stated about God.
Oh, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Because, you see, whenever they try to shame conservatives away from, because the one thing that's the one line we will not cross. And they know that the reason why we won't cross it is because of our convictions according to what we're taught in the Bible. So they try to bring up these statements that shame us into saying, well, if the God is compassionate and loving, and your definition of loving is my 3-year-old or my 4-year-old steps up to me to say, I think I'm a girl. And then the solution is to chop off their penis, carve a slit in between their legs, and make believe that that's a vagina.
And give them hormones to make them grow breasts.
Okay, and then put them on medication for the rest of their lives. To keep that slit open needs medication. You're going to need to be on medication, on antibiotics, on all kinds of things to make sure there's no infection in there. And that's what she calls evidence-based. These people are insane.
I got news for her. God said, I knew you when you were in the womb.
Yep.
He did not create a boy so that mankind could turn him into a girl.
Yeah.
Period.
And essentially, these doctors are trying to play God. They've been trying to play God for a long time. And now they have one. And now yeah. How much money do they make while they do that?
And the pharmaceuticals with these hormones, because the hormones they're treating these kids with is the hormones they give to women who go through menopause.
Yep.
And I can tell you it can drive people insane. If the dose is wrong, it can totally blitz everything around you.
Yeah.
And now that's what they call women bipolar.
Now keep your comments coming in the chat. Keep it coming. Now I have a special something for Patricia. Okay, I told her that it was coming, and here's the governor of Patricia's state.
Oh, that man.
The great state of Kentucky. So here he is.
I didn't like his dad, and I don't like him.
So here's what he has to say about protecting kids by chopping off body parts.
Well, they were doing that.
When I was running for reelection.
So, sorry, you said?
They were doing that at the UK college hospital. We found
right. So, yeah. So listen, and then I want to see your reaction. This is your governor. Okay, let's see your reaction.
When I was running for re-election, my state legislature passed the nastiest anti-trans bill that the country had seen. It removed any decision-making by parents for their children's health care. These are people who had always been talking about parental rights. but they removed every parental right there. And I thought the bill was mean, I thought it was cruel, and I vetoed it.
Patricia?
I think they passed it anyway. Because when it went back to state legislation, they could override the governor's veto.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were secretly having children go through these surgeries at the University of Kentucky Hospital. And it was like an experiment. And it reminds me of the horrors from World War II.
Yeah.
Found out that Hitler was doing this crap.
Yeah. It's weird, okay, that someone would wear a suit, sit in front of the camera, and say that when the state says it's not okay for parents to sign off on mutilating their kids, to sign off on, okay, so if you have a bunch of parents who say we want to essentially end the lives of our kids, our 13-year-old, our 14-year-old, because we believe that that's what's good for them. And then he wears his suit and sits in front of the camera to say, and these are the guys who claim that, that parents need to have a say, in the health and well-being of their children. It's all hypocrisy and grandstanding. There are lines where a parent can request for healthcare that is meant to improve the physical and mental well-being of a child, not mutilation. You know what? In third world countries, there's this thing called genital mutilation. And the parents of those girls believe that if they mutilate their daughter, that it makes them a more righteous person, that it makes them less prone to promiscuity. That is good for them. And Governor Andy Bashir, would you also say that that's okay?
He would.
Okay. No,
Omar would want him to say that.
Yes. Look, these are the kinds of things, okay, that people have pushed back against for decades because it is harmful, it is traumatic, it is not something that people look back on with a lot of gratitude to their parents. Okay, and there are stories of people who have gone through these surgeries who have regrets. They have regrets. They're like, look, why did I do this? Why did my parents allow me to do this? Okay,
children do not have enough life experience at the ages up to the age of 16, consensual sex.
Yeah,
to understand that this whole thing is about sex. That's what makes it so sick.
Yeah. Why is it so important? Why are you so obsessed with doing this to children?
I fear we've entered the realm of Sodom and Gomorrah. And if you study those two cities, you find out why God wiped them off the face of the earth.
Yep.
And it wasn't because women were wearing pants.
All right, let's jump into the chat. Okay, you guys have been amazing in the chat. Okay, keep them coming. I'm going to read into Galactic Wrangler's chat. He says, I had a friend in 4th grade, a girl, she always she always won arm wrestling, but only 1 or 2 guys could win. Like
that doesn't make you a male.
Exactly. It doesn't.
No.
Okay, it's a fringe individual. Okay, she's a fringe individual who just happens to be stronger than boys her age. They're not. You don't come across them all the time. Pink Panther says, girls who played football, climbed trees, dug up worms were referred to as tomboys. This does not mean that we are not in the right body.
And I did all that.
Yeah.
And I would never claim to be a boy.
Yeah. In fact, one of the girls that I ever had my first crush, okay, my first crush in life, we grew up together, was a tomboy. You know, she acted like she did everything like a tomboy, but you know what? She never stopped being attractive.
Well, I grew up with 6 male cousins. So either you played with them or you sat on the porch. And I was not about to sit on the porch.
Yeah. Canary Kin says, what is their real purpose? Okay. Who on earth disfigures children?
Okay. There is a thing that they have been trying to include pedophiles with the LGBTQ movement.
Yeah.
That's what the plus is for.
Yeah. They call them minor attracted persons.
Right. And they are trying to get people comfortable with using children in this way to where you won't think twice of a 34-year-old man having sex with a 5-year-old.
That is demonic.
They are sick.
That is demonic. Okay, we will call it out. If you don't believe in demons, okay, look at what these people are trying to do to children. Okay, look at what they're trying. A child, a 9-year-old, doesn't have the right to vote, doesn't have the right to drink alcohol. Okay,
doesn't have a right to sign papers.
Doesn't have the right to sign papers, but can decide that they're in the wrong body, and the parents have to go along with that idea. I know it's
who is the adult in the room.
You know, people who subscribe to this this way of thinking will watch this segment and say you guys are hateful. Well,
call me whatever you want.
I don't care. I don't care about that, about those stupid labels, okay? I don't care about those stupid labels. You guys have left the reservation. You guys don't know what is up and what is down, okay? You guys all need to have your heads re-examined.
They have already proven that if a person really wants to do this,
yeah,
they can do it after puberty.
Yeah.
Who did that? She's a very popular person these days.
Mm-hmm.
But he was an Olympic swimmer.
Ah.
What was his name? Jensen? He was on Wheatie boxes.
I don't remember. If you know who she's talking about in the chat, let's have that name. Look.
And she today has been on TV before, on news shows, saying this needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
Because children should not be making this decision. This is a decision to make after you've matured.
No one is against people.
And he went through the hormone treatments and the body changes.
Yeah. No one is against people doing whatever they like with their bodies. No one. Okay, and contrary to the lies that most Democrats would tell, we don't want to put women in habits like in the Handmaid's Tale. Okay, you have weirdos thinking that that's what this is all about. That's not what this is about. This is about a common sense, sane society, staying away from children, letting children be children. Let them grow up. Let them be kids. Okay? Let's move on to the next chat. Of course, Intergalactic Wrangler is telling me that he was born in 79. So I feel old now. Okay? I thought I was like the young guy in the room, but I'm older than he is. Canary King says, to be fair, not all doctors go along with this insanity. That is true, but the doctors that speak up against it are being persecuted in the medical industry. Okay, it's no longer, and you know what? The medical industry used to be called the medical practice. Okay, it's a practice. the doctors know that they don't have all the answers.
It was
And
Bruce. I'm sorry. It was Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner. Okay, yeah.
That is now Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay.
That
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So yes, not all doctors go along with this insanity. Pink Panther says, God did not make any mistake. God is the creator, and the enemy is trying to play God. That is correct. That is correct.
Don't trust humans who think that they can play God.
Yeah, don't. Now, if you're just joining, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing the video. I have to remember to do this because when you're having a great conversation, you forget that you have to let people know that they should subscribe, like, and share, because sometimes you find great content and then you need to figure out how to get back. And because you didn't subscribe and hit the bell icon, you don't know how to get back to us. Okay, so this is Crossroads IRL. Please subscribe, hang out with us, hit the subscribe button, share these videos, give it the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up icon. Okay, it helps us out a whole lot and lets more people just like you know that this channel exists. So I just wanted to say that before we move on to the next comment by Intergalactic Wrangler.
Bashir better not ever run for president, that idiot.
Andy Bashir?
Yes.
No. They all want to run for president, and they all want to they want to appeal to the current Democrat voting base. Okay? I don't believe that they believe this insanity. I don't think
he is a Democrat. He is not a Republican.
Yeah. You know, so they don't believe this. They just want to pander to a voter base that subscribes to these fringe ideologies. Okay. Now let's see. I want to skip over to Intergalactic Wranglers. Merry Christmas, by the way, if I don't get to see you all. Yeah, so Merry Christmas too. I'll be thinking about what the holidays are going to be like. To be honest,
let's remember why we have Christmas.
Yeah, it's because of Christ.
And God's love.
So when you have characters like Ayanna Presley trying to hoodwink us into believing that Jesus wants genital mutilation, you know, and that's their definition of love. You know, these guys are perverts. Okay, so whenever they hear the word love, their mind goes straight into the bedroom.
That's it.
You know, and that isn't love. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That is the message, not genital mutilation, you creeps. Okay?
Not sex.
You know, and not sex.
Love and sex are two totally different things. I
don't know how you have to spell this out. Okay, how you have to spell this out to these guys. Okay, why do we have to spell this out? Okay, let's see.
So far gone, they can't absorb.
The
truth.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I read this, so let me read this again. Intergalactic Wrangler says, "That's terrible to mutilate anyone." Oh my God! Look. For decades, it's been understood genital mutilation for any reason, religious.
Well, that same man, that same Democrat, will put down women who put on a hijab, and they will put down that we shouldn't be involved with their beliefs of mutilating their daughters.
Yeah. That is their religious prerogative. That is okay to do that.
Yeah.
This world has gone insane. this isn't the world I grew up in. This
And
isn't the
I'm
world.
the one that's sitting back here saying nobody should criticize those women who put on a hijab
Yeah.
because that is their choice to live that.
Yeah.
That is their choice.
Oh,
They didn't want to, they would escape.
I don't know. Like it is crazy. Okay, so Pink Panther says allowing adults to mutilate the child before they are 18 years old is child abuse. If the child wants to change their minds, they cannot. Then what? How can we help them with accepting themselves?
Therapy.
It's therapy. It's
I mean,
therapy.
now we've got Furbies in schools that they're putting litter boxes in the bathrooms for them.
Yeah. You know, but can I also say something? All right. Can I also say something? I believe that it is the parents' responsibility to love their children into their actual identity. Okay? You look at a child and you say, look, yes, you're like, for example, I was a late bloomer. One time I was shopping with my mom. I was out shopping with my mom. I stood by the car waiting for her to get something and walk back to the car. This is on the streets of Lagos. Okay, so it's busy, crowded. There are hawkers. There are people that are hawking their wares on the side of the street. And someone, a guy, okay, who may have been in his early 20s, walks up to me and asks me, "Are you a boy or a girl?"
Oh,
I was maybe 13 or 14 years old at this point. Okay, I was a late bloomer. I was skinny, you know. So, but for a guy, I was good looking. So he was confused, and he walks up to me and asks me that question. Now, imagine if I grew up in a society where you had people who were just perverts and just wanted to kind of ask, "Oh, are you a girl? You must be a girl. You're in the wrong body," and you keep hearing that as a child. And they're programming you and grooming you into believing that you are something that you're not. Do you know what? That one statement bothered me for a long time. Someone asking me whether I was a boy or a girl. And I said, I'm a boy. Come on. And you know what? I had it injected doubts in my mind. Like, are you? Why is he asking this? Is there something wrong with you? You know, why? How come this was, this was an actual question that they're asking me? It messed with my head.
yeah.
And I was an early teenager, 13, 14 years old. So imagine doing this to kids, to children. It happened to me.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah,
There
so
was no reason for him to walk up and ask you that.
there was no reason, but he did. Okay. And look, we have creeps everywhere. They speak different languages. Okay. So just because they're in the third world doesn't mean that they're nice people. For those of you who want to let in everybody who's in the third world into the United States, they have creeps and they are worse. They come from countries that they don't enforce these laws.
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many stories I've heard about babies being found along that border, that southern border, dead from being gang raped.
Look at that.
Yeah. And
Look,
the toddler they found sitting out in the desert crying, and she was so brutally torn apart that they helicopter lifted her to a hospital.
look. Anyway, I feel like it's time for me to take the leash off this channel because for the last couple of years I refuse to talk about gender, these gender affirming care and all that. I refused because I don't know. Maybe because I didn't have it in me to have that conversation because I just didn't believe that people would actually believe that insanity. Okay. Or maybe I was just being a coward. Okay, so I'll just call it that. Maybe I was just being a coward because I'm trying to be, I'm trying to allow this channel be kind of a place where people can feel like they're welcome. So if I say some things, maybe some people think that I'm being a bigot or something. So maybe I was being a coward. I don't know. But I think I have to take the leash off the channel and talk about how I really feel about these things.
Growing up in the 60s, if any child, girl or boy, had told their parents that they were an opposite gender, they would have yanked them up, hauled them off to a psychiatrist,
Yeah.
and had them go through a complete session. And this is something that parents have gotten away from because of the labeling. That your child is nuts.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So still on this, okay. If a child says to their parent, I want to end my life, because this is where it's going.
Yeah.
This is where it's going.
Now they're going to say they should be allowed to do that.
Exactly. I want to end my life. For what reason? No, life is horrible. Things are bad. Nothing changes. I feel depressed. I want to. Now I hear that there's a conversation around the medically assisted medical assistance in dying. That's a conversation that's coming up now in the US, and it's like it's heading there because now kids can make a decision about the permanent changes to their bodies. And then when you have kids who actually are thinking to themselves, I would rather, pass on to the next existence, they will say, yes, you shouldn't be stopping your kids from doing that. Because look, guys, I don't know. Let's go back to the chat, okay? I'm getting worked up just thinking about the insanity of these creeps.
Well, the kids aren't allowed to drink or smoke till they turn 18.
Exactly.
You can't go in the military until you're 18. You can't vote till you're 18.
You can't drive in some places until you're 18.
In some places, you can't even own property until you turn 21.
Yeah.
So, adult decisions need to remain with adults, not children.
Intergalactic Wrangler, thank you for that comment. When you're 18, you can do what you want. No one is saying you're not allowed to do what you want. We're saying not the kids.
Not until they turn 18.
Look, for me, I did a video last week where I said how I missed the old Democrat Party, even though they were horrible people, but they at least had the good sense to keep the arguments around common sense issues. Okay, but now it's like, no, they've left the reservation. They are insane. They are filled with creeps.
They are waltzing with Lucifer.
There is no middle ground for this version of the Democrat Party. In my opinion, there's no middle ground. No, there's none.
I mean, maybe you actually are for killing babies.
Look, that conversation around abortion at least had nuances. There were arguments about, well, what about an emergency? But those were just the Trojan horses to kind of move the goalposts more and more towards just random abortions. We could see it. We knew that was happening, but they had the good sense to mask it, to mask that whole argument around those ideas or concepts or contexts. But today it's like everything. They don't even care to hide their reasons for doing things anymore. Canary King says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Canary King. Look, this is my favorite time of the year. Outside it's 8 below zero now, and there's snow in my driveway. I hate shoveling snow. I hate shoveling snow. So I'm looking forward to the
I'm allergic to that stuff.
my first year in Canada, my first winter,
Oh,
after
no.
it snowed, I propped out of bed, looked out of my bedroom window onto the driveway, and I said, "Yes, this is snow. I'm gonna have fun." I put on my winter gear. I put on my jacket, insulation, my boots, and everything. Picked up my shovel and went shoveling snow. 2 hours later, I was telling myself, "Yes, I'm gonna pretend like I'm enjoying this." By the next year, I conscripted my son. I said, "Okay, it's time for you to do what men do. Here's a shovel."
Buy a snowblower.
Oh, well, I got one, but it's not strong enough to do the job.
Oh,
So
Lord.
yeah. So Merry Christmas, guys. Intergalactic. Oh, see, yeah. Oh,
Hello.
Michael Mintmeyer says Intergalactic Wrangler told me to join. I'm liking it so far. Whoa.
Hello. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome. Thanks for look, we're excited every time we meet someone new. We hope you subscribe, hit the bell icon, okay, like, and invite other people who you believe might like what we're doing here as well. Thank you. And Intergalactic Wrangler, thank you for getting someone new to join the channel. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And of course, the gang is saying hi to Mike. Okay. And guess who's in the chat? The prodigal host, Tony, is in the chat.
Hello, Tony.
Tony is working on his podcast studio. So he's taking time off so that when he comes back, he's in a great space and he impresses me with the great audio and great setup. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited for Tony. And look, guys, if you have a podcast that you're working on, okay, we will be glad to help give you some visibility as much as we can. It's still a small channel. You can look at the views, not too many people, but you know what? If someone is watching and they hear about your podcast, maybe they decide that they want to be a fan and they join your podcast. So Tony is starting his podcast, and we will definitely be asking you to head over there to support him. Canary King says, "Welcome, Michael." Yeah, we are. We're very excited about Michael joining, and we have a super chat from Tony. He just left a super chat of $7.99 Australian dollars, and he says, "Hello, legends. Hope you're well." Thank you so much, Tony, for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. And you know what, guys? I haven't been pushy about you guys supporting the channel financially. Okay, but it's great if you guys send us some shekels, because it helps out. It helps keep the lights on, literally keeping the lights on. It also helps because
since you cannot legally work until you get permanent residency in Canada.
Yeah, so I can't legally work. So
the legal way.
Yes, look, guys. Whenever you see me ranting about Democrat policies, especially around immigration, people think that you're just saying that because you're not affected. Okay, I've been affected in many ways by immigration policies, and when I look at it, my question is this the right thing to do by the American people? It is. So, is this the right thing to do by Canadians? Because I live in Canada. It is. As an immigrant, if I don't have my work permit, I shouldn't be taking work away from citizens or other legal immigrants. Because do you know what? I'm good at what I do. I am. And I could decide, look, I started setting up a business with a friend of mine. He's Canadian, to begin to create business databases for Canadian businesses. When I lost my work permit status, we had a meeting, and I said to him, I can't do this. I know that I could put you as a front to say you're the guy who's doing everything, and then I'm in the background pushing all the levers, but that's wrong. And we both agreed that we should end that arrangement. until I got my paperwork intact. I truly believe in law and order. I truly believe in these things, and this is the only legal way that I can make a shekel or two. So if you would consider supporting me with a super chat, super thank, or joining the membership. Tony is a member of the channel, and yet he's tossing dough at me in the chat. I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you so much. If you can, consider doing the same, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you, Tony, for the super chat and for reminding me that I have to tell people that actually exists. Intergalactic Wrangler says, I peed. Wow.
In my friend's litter box.
What are you telling me? I peed in my friend's litter box. A few years ago, I was drunk. He just passed away from lung cancer 2 days ago. Oh boy, rest in peace, Billy. Rest in peace, Billy.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Billy. My mom, we remember things that we did with people who passed, and those are the memories that we hold on to. The one memory, I have two memories of my mom that I hold on to. One memory is a running memory. When I was a kid and I'll be running around the streets, okay, playing with the kids, my mom would stand on the veranda of our house and scream my name. The whole neighborhood knew she was after me. Okay, that was one. And then the second,
every night at dark.
Oh no. She didn't wait until it was dark. She wanted me to either hit the books, do my chores, or head on over somewhere to get something done. So there was always something, and it was always at the least convenient time. Sometimes I would sneak into a friend's house and we're watching movies, and then she would send someone over there to get me. And I'd be like, don't tell them I'm here. Rest in peace, Billy. Rest in peace, Billy.
It's good that he's keeping his memory alive with those.
Yes. Look, guys, you can do this.
Wild animals in your home.
Yeah. Don't let wild animals in your home. As someone says, oh, he's being racist. No, there are literal wild animals out there. There are. And the Democrats want them to be brought into the country unvetted, unscreened. And then when they
14-year-old girls to death on the streets of Long Island
and then the defense that they give for some of these people is that, well, they didn't know that this wasn't legal.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
13 turned loose in Long Island.
Yeah, it's insane.
But we should test them.
Pink Panther, okay? Pink Panther has been in the chat. They're enjoying themselves. I think you're enjoying the live stream. If you're still here, let me know what you think about the live stream, because you've been chatting and engaging. I think you like it here. So let us know if you like it here. Pink Panther says, how will the adults be able to help those children who are now young adults accept themselves? Okay. How will the adults be able to help those children who are now young adults accept themselves? Adults mutilate the child, but when they turn 18 plus, can't return their gender. Where are the adults then? Exactly, because they're nowhere to be found.
That is happening. There is one girl that has spoken up against this transgender child thing. Her parents let her cut her breast off and go into the hormone treatment to turn her into a boy.
Yeah.
And then she decided she didn't want to do that. And she has went back, gotten off the hormones, and trans back to being a female.
Yeah.
And she has learned since doing that she will never be able to have children. Period.
Last year, the last 2023 and 2024 were really, I would say, problematic for me. And that was essentially what encouraged me to pivot this channel to what it is today.
Yeah.
I saw videos of young girls who had gone essentially to remove their wombs, and there was one video where one young lady essentially shrunk her womb and made it into a necklace.
My Lord.
I saw all of this insanity happening, and look, it was difficult, and it was more like, okay, so this has happened in just 4 years under this presidency, and they want a second term. Will we have a world left at the end of this? You know, so I began to talk about news and politics, and at least just give my takes. And do you know what? I'm glad you guys are in the chat. I'm glad for you, Patricia, being here to just add your voice to it, because it really makes me feel like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And they want us to believe that every American wants this to happen, but that's not true.
No.
That is not true.
What Andy Bashir's worst nightmare is he became governor of a state that is embedded in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And he hates it.
Well, he can't change it, and nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. Intergalactic Wrangler says speaking of illegal immigrants, steal your food, they bite, they get you a tamed animal, protect your borders. Intergalactic Wrangler, don't say that in public, okay? It'll get you canceled.
Just get you a dog and train it.
You know, I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to make sure he doesn't get in trouble, because if he says that in public, it's not going to, you know.
I watched a video today of a K9 units taking down criminals.
Yeah.
And one poor guy got bit several times, and he was yelling at the police, "Why'd you let that dog bite me?" They said, "Well, if you hadn't ran,
yeah,
and hadn't kicked the dog,
he kicked. Oh, come on!
Bit you."
Everyone knows that if you kick a dog and you attack it, it'll bite.
And those dogs are trained to bite.
Yeah.
Severely bite. Arms and legs.
Tony says, asking, being a coward, how? Well, let me explain. Okay. There are topics that are difficult to discuss because it gets you so angry. Okay. It gets you so angry that when you try to cover these topics, it's almost like this. We could start tomorrow's live stream on this topic, this one topic of gender affirming care. And by the end of it, I possibly could scream myself hoarse because I don't believe the insanity of people who subscribe to it and who vote this in and who protest. For example, we had people outside of the AmFest, the America First event this weekend that was hosted by Turning Point USA. And they're protesting and they're saying, and they put up the most outlandish signs. And no matter how much you try to speak to these people to tell them that their position is wrong, you will never get them to change their minds. It's the same thing with this topic of gender affirming care. You could start this conversation, and I guarantee you, if I
already a movement in European countries to completely ban it.
Yeah. And the last time I heard something from the Parliament, the US Parliament, or was it the Australian Parliament, they were blaming the Trump administration for the reversals. They weren't very happy. All right. So guys, congratulations for voting in President Trump. Okay. You guys did an amazing job, and I'm proud of you guys. Okay, I am proud of every one of you who were brave enough to go out there.
That day we called friends, family, everybody we could and said, "Did you go vote?"
Oh, look, we have to keep doing that for
And
every
that
other
went on
election.
all day till the polls closed.
Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't answered the question yet. So, Tony, I felt that I was muting my voice whenever it came to this issue of gender affirming care, the trans issue, and so on. I would actively avoid talking about these topics. So that's why I said I'm not sure if I was doing that because I was either being cowardly about confronting it, or I was being politically correct, or I was just, I don't know. Look, I can't say exactly why. I can't. But I do know that today talking about it feels like it's the right thing to do for us to do more of this. Okay.
I'll tell you something that goes along with that, and it's not off record. In the 60s, when I was in school, we had morning prayer every morning. Somebody would get on the school speaker, and a prayer was given for the day. An atheist woman.
Tell Marcus to get you water, okay? Okay. All right.
An
Sorry.
atheist woman went to Washington, D.C.
Yep.
and used the statement of separation of church and state to get prayer taken out of the schools. Now, what happened was everybody sat back and said, "Oh, that's crazy. They'll never agree to it."
Yeah.
And nobody raised a ruckus about it. And they took prayer out of our schools. And nobody was being forced to pray. I went to a school that there was 5 of us girls. I was raised Pentecostal. There was a Catholic. There was Baptist. There was a Jew. And there was a Muslim girl in our friendship group. That is so weird. But we all got along very well and talked a lot.
Yeah.
And none of them agreed to having prayer taken out of our schools.
Yeah.
And we worked around that by asking them to do a morning dedication instead of a morning prayer. And a dedication could be reading from the Quran or the Bible or the Quran or whatever. And there was even some Hindu and Buddhism thrown in there.
Yeah.
And it taught us all to appreciate tolerance.
Yeah.
And not put people down for their beliefs or their differences. But I remember my parents sitting in the living room watching the news about this, saying, "Oh, they'll never do it." But they never called their congressmen or senators.
Yeah.
And I learned in Kentucky that is a major lesson.
Yeah.
When we tried to get the school system to cover at-risk children from birth through 5, and the at-risk children were children born with disabilities that needed help early on, and getting the school system to cover it. And one state senator from our state legislation looked at me and said, "Do you know how many letters we get about this?" And I said, "No, how many?" He said, 0.
Wow.
And I looked him right in the eye and I said, "We can fix that." And he called me one day at my office and said, "Uncle, stop it." We had tangled up the U.S. Postal Service so bad that they were taking semi-truckloads to the Capitol building to deliver them their mail.
Yeah.
And we changed it. We got them to vote it and put it through.
Yeah.
But And that's the power of the people.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And when you stay silent about something and you don't call your congressman and you don't talk to your senators, then havoc happens.
It does. Now, I've said this for a long time, and maybe you've heard me say this on several streams. Okay, everyone has to get involved. The reason why I encourage and I celebrate people who engage in the chat is that I want more people to learn how to make their voices heard and to speak up whenever something is going on. Conservatives tend to want to mind their own businesses and not say anything, and it's the silence of the majority that allows the tyranny of the minority. That the minority appears to be louder. They appear to be the ones that want some of these things, but we have to essentially make sure that our voices are heard and that common sense is applied in some of these policies that are being pushed out. And right now we're being forced to abide by the things that a minority have essentially pushed through. So
just remember that for evil to exist is all it takes is for good people to do nothing.
Yeah. So Tony, I hope I answered that chat because I just went down several rabbit holes and I hope I answered it. Basically, it's just a feeling, but we're breaking out of those restrictions.
Fault.
It is. It's his fault.
It's his fault.
Yeah, Intergalactic Wrangler says the left are mean. They are. They want us to believe that they are the party of unicorns and good feelings. But they are meaner than rattlesnakes.
You don't go along with them. They want civil war.
They do. They do.
That ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Intergalactic Wrangler. Okay. Says this. I drank and smoked at 16. I also hunted since I was 11. More responsibility than most kids. Which is the thing that, we've talked about it, that kids used to bring their rifles to high school.
Yeah.
And once they were done with high school, with the class, they would jump on their trucks and go hunting. Yeah. Let's talk about those days, okay?
Intergalactica. So all I can say is tenderloin. Tenderloin. Yes.
Intergalactic Wrangler says, I love Halloween. Christmas is my second favorite holiday. Intergalactic Wrangler again says, the whole of the world is affected whatever the USA does. That is true. And that's why I'm sitting here in Canada from Nigeria talking about the United States. I've had people in the comment section say, why don't you talk about your country? I'm like, look, I sat in my country talking about my country. Then Obama decides that he wants to force our government to legalize same-sex marriage. And when they said no, he supports the guy who forced our currency to go from 120 of our currency until it became 550 of our currency to $1. That's the guy that Obama imposed on us by supporting his presidential campaign, funding the guy and sending his own campaign team to support this guy so that he could win the elections in Nigeria. So no, if you're upset that a Nigerian is talking about the United States, sorry, that ship sailed when Obama did that. Okay, so we get to talk about what's going on there because we know how much it affects what goes on in our countries. Yes, I live in Canada, but you know what? This year, Trump signed the exit to the Paris Accords. The very next couple of weeks, carbon tax was removed from our prices here in Canada. The price of fuel dropped. So don't tell me that the USA doesn't affect the world. It does.
Sometimes I hate it that they get involved in how other countries rule.
Yeah.
Because that's not our business. That's the business of the people who live in that country.
Yeah. All right. Intergalactic Wrangler
I
says,
delegated 7 sentences.
and then he says, I deleted 7 sentences. I'm trying to figure out. I'm wondering if he's enjoying the holidays a bit too much. If you know what I mean. Okay. Well, I guess he is. Okay.
The funniest theme song I've heard was Move Over Santa Claus, Ice is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
That was hysterical.
Yeah. I saw that. Intergalactic Wrangler says, God bless Nicki Minaj. She's referring to the interview between Erica Kirk and Nicki Minaj. I saw that. Maybe we'll talk about it. If you guys want, okay, tell me in the chat if you want me, and it has to be at least 2 or 3 of you. Tell me in the chat if you want us to play that interview and talk about what they said, because Intergalactic Wrangler is talking about it. I haven't watched it, but I've been a bit heartbroken about what's going on with within the conservative circle with Ben Shapiro attacking Candace Owens attacking Ben Shapiro, him also attacking Tucker Carlson attacking everybody else, and
It all went bonkers.
yeah, it's weird. I'm not a fan of friendly fire, because that's what this looks like. It looks like friendly fire, and conservatives need to get their act together. Okay,
if they're doing it for the clicks.
it's possible they're doing it for the clicks, because do you know what? Most of them are influencers around politics, culture, and because not much is going on, okay, maybe views are dropping, and the only way to get the views going is outrage and drama.
I have a friend that has a channel. He's a rock hound, and he hunts fossils and rocks.
Okay.
And he had a sit down one day on one of his videos of how they had lost sight of what they were doing for the clicks.
Yeah.
And when he changed that, his channel grew.
Mm.
And it was something that sitting there listening to him talk about the concerns over the clicks.
Yeah.
Was something that, it made sense that you can so easily get caught up, and that being more important than the content you're putting in your videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still love watching him. They go down rivers in Florida that are infested with alligators and snakes, and they scuba dive.
Oh, wow.
Going, I would never do
that.
No, I don't want my head took off by an alligator or get bit by a cottonmouth.
Yeah.
No. By the way, the cottonmouth is the most aggressive snake in America.
It is.
It will chase you.
Really?
Yes, they are very snakes.
Okay.
They come after you. We had one in the river up in Indiana that had a fish in its mouth, and it dropped the fish and came after us.
What?
You've never seen 6 kids screaming and running out of the water so fast in all your life.
Wow.
And I grabbed the oar and handed it to my cousin, and he started beating on the snake to keep it from crawling up on shore.
What's that?
Jamie, I'm still working, okay?
And then we were told that cottonmouth didn't exist that side of the Mississippi. And I said, want to make a bet? We beat one to death.
Intergalactic. Yeah. We are all glad, okay, that Tim Walz.
Retarded man.
No. Look, watching the mainstream media support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz backing their run for president and vice president was horrifying.
That was worse than that movie, Stupid and Stupider. They
It was
outdid
horrible.
them.
It was horrible.
Loss outdid that movie, Stupid and Stupider.
Yeah, they did.
They really did outdo them.
Intergalactic Wrangler, in response to what you and your friend did with when prayer was taken out of classrooms, he says, no talking in class, and these two girls in third grade started signing WTF. Intergalactic Wrangler says the name of the movie was Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like Stupid and Stupider better. And yes, I sign.
You do.
I have a daughter.
Oh. Tony says, I think that we need the opposite. Encourage healthy debate. You can't be quiet if truth is what you carry. Yeah.
There was a statement that falsehoods can't survive debating truth.
Yeah.
Because truth brings the receipts.
Yeah. I think we had a conversation last week where I said that I decided that I wasn't going to entertain bad faith comments in the chat, and one of the reasons why I did that was because people come in the chat and they just distract with noise. Okay, so if someone came on the chat, didn't agree with me, but said, "Hey, here's why I don't agree with you," and you lay out your points, then we can say, okay, I hear you, but here's why I have my position. That's called a good faith conversation or a good faith argument or discussion. We're both coming with the aim of sharing our ideas and the reasons why we believe how we believe. And you know what? We may never agree. But that doesn't mean that we have to hate each other. That doesn't mean that we have to
respect each other.
Yes. You don't call people names.
It's called tolerance.
Yes. You don't call people names. You don't wish for someone to harm them. You don't tell them that you wish that their marriages would end. Like there's some truly despicable conversations that I see online, and it's really hurtful to just watch how people just separate themselves from common sense or even lifelong friendships.
Yes.
Because you know what? You can literally be friends with someone, but you don't agree on certain things.
I have friends all over the world that I am close to and keep in contact with. And they do not have the same religious beliefs I do. Of course, I grew up with a circle of friends that had different religions from me.
Yeah.
That I didn't disavow them because of it.
Yeah.
In fact, we had some really great debates about religion.
Yeah. So guys, keep the chat coming. Whenever we are talking about things that really matter like this, we kind of throw out the clock. We're like, okay, we're not going to force the live stream to end at a certain time because we're seeing some good engagement. So we do have a cutoff where we can do a hard stop. Okay, it's around the 2-hour mark. Okay, so but if
is right. You cannot know love unless you know what hate is.
That is true. It's impossible for us to know what love is unless we are acquainted with hate. Intergalactic
lima beans.
Intergalactic Wrangler says tenderloin.
Yes.
Tony says, mean, referring to Democrats, maybe so. The one who outplays the other wins, which means compete. We need to compete, not what conservatives used to do. Okay. And I said that, and I think I said that today during this afternoon's live stream, and I was really very heated. I said, look, it's time that the conservatives stop playing losing games. Okay.
That came from the generation before me. And is what we heard that really angered me. Well, that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
And I was the one in my family that stood up and said, well, that don't mean it has to stay that way.
Yeah.
And that's when the pushback started.
Yeah.
From that conservative ideal that, oh, well, we give up. That's the way it's always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
hold them accountable.
Yeah. And
yes, we want to know where our money went. What did you spend it on?
yeah. And Democrats like Ayanna Pressley want us to kind of keep that ethos going, be nice, be docile, when someone misquotes the Bible, let it fly because you don't want to be confrontational. That is stupid, and that isn't the way we win. It's not.
Every time Antifa flares up and destroys something or hurts somebody, the first thing you'll hear out of the Democrats' mouths is, we need to tone this. Everybody needs to tone this down. And I'm going, but y'all are the ones that are pushing it.
Exactly.
And you won't tone it down because the very next day, they're right back saying the same thing they did to entice Antifa to do it.
Exactly. Let's see.
And we finally got somebody in the presidency that stands up and says, no.
Yeah. Tony says, okay, yeah, he's still talking about the conservatives. You should stay silent, turn away. That strategy has you what? Yeah.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, so he completes he completes the sentence. Has you get what result?
You get the Democrats doing exactly what they did during Biden.
Yeah.
You get the Democrats doing exactly what they did during the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
You get the Democrats doing exactly what they did when Benghazi happened.
Exactly.
You get the Democrats doing exactly what happened in Afghanistan when you stay silent and you don't stand up and speak.
Yeah.
Scooby dive.
Yeah. He says, I want to Scooby dive, and then he also says, I can sign a little. So you have someone else who signs. And the last chat says, Tony says, that was a long time ago, forgive me, but they have lost and Dems got used to effing around. And look what happened. This side is as guilty. I agree, because when good people don't vote, when they lay around doing nothing,
then evil takes over.
Yeah. So
and is what happened during the 2016 election when Trump first was elected. We finally stood up and said we've had enough.
Yeah.
This has got to stop. And then the COVID came along, and I'll never forget Bill Barr coming out and saying there was no voter fraud. 2 days after the election. And I'm looking at this man on TV going, how do you know? There's been no investigation.
Yeah.
You have no proof that there wasn't.
Yeah.
And everybody hushed up and, oh, Bill Barr's right.
And then if you spoke up, they said that you were an election denier, you were an insurrectionist.
Then it comes out that, yes, there was voter fraud, major voter fraud.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of all the investigations that they've been teasing, that they've been doing. So let's see what happens. All right. We've been going for an hour, 34 minutes. And to be honest, you see that little man back there? He needs to be
his drink of water.
Yeah, he did. He
Very
did,
good.
but he doesn't want to go to bed. He's looking for an excuse to run around the house and to watch TV.
He on
So
Christmas break.
yeah, so what I usually do is I pick him up, put him on my chest in this room, turn off the lights, and then wait for him to go to bed, and I put him in his crib. So maybe that's going to have to happen tonight.
Read him the story of the Christmas story.
Yeah, I'm sure that will put him to bed.
Yeah.
Intergalactic Wrangler says, phone died. I'm back at 2%. Well, Intergalactic Wrangler, thank you so much. You guys, look, you guys make the channel, okay? I didn't hear from Mike since he posted his first comments, but Mike, welcome to the gang. Pink Panther, welcome to the gang. I hope you decided to stay by subscribing and hitting the bell icon. Please hit the bell icon. If you're subscribed and the bell icon isn't lit up on the button whenever you look at our channel, please hit the bell icon because it sends a signal to you whenever we go live. All right. Good night, buddy. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out, Intergalactic Wrangler. Tomorrow we're going to be back again at noon Eastern and again at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to look if it feels right, we're going to continue from this topic because I think one, it's not going away. Two, there are other stories that aren't being covered that are connected to this, and we're just going to do whatever we need to do tomorrow. So please. Consider joining us again tomorrow afternoon at noon Eastern and also at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you have suggestions on topics that we could cover tomorrow, whether it's in the afternoon or in the evening, consider sending us an email and let us know what you think we should be talking about. And if there's details that you think would make for a good live stream, send that to us in the email. Patricia, any last comments?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, and
all week.
Yeah, and let's see. There's Tony is saying night Trish and bro night Tony,
Night,
and then we have Hughes Housatonic Live 2 says any talk of Ira Magazina. I don't know what that is.
We're gonna pick that up.
Okay, so is this seems like his first time or their first time chatting. So thanks for leaving a comment in the chat, guys. Love hanging out, love talking with you. Merry Christmas, Intergalactic Wrangler. We will be back tomorrow, guys. And thank you, Intergalactic Wrangler, for bringing in someone new today. Please, let's try something new tomorrow, okay? When we all come in, let's engage by simply letting us know where you are, what you're doing, how your day was, and then let's try to connect new people to the live stream. Okay.
And I think that was IRA Magaziner.
IRA Magaziner. Okay.
Yeah, it's a gun thing.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so we can look into that. And Merry Christmas, House of Tonic. I hope you'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be back, and we're going to be talking about. Look, we had fun tonight. IRA
Magaziner is an American political advisor to Clinton.
Really?
Oh,
tomorrow. Yeah. Let's do that tomorrow. Yeah. Let's do that tomorrow. Could you just write it down so I don't forget? I need to figure out the buttons here, so I don't have my notepad. It's all the way over there. So
that's okay. I'll send you some links.
Yeah, send me some links. It's possible that we could dive into that tomorrow. Pink Panther is saying great chat. Pink Panther, it was amazing having you in the chat.
Hello, Pink Panther, and
yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, now we have the call-in feature. We did not activate it for tonight because we were having so much fun reading your chats that we forgot that was a thing. But I think the chats are good. So it was amazing tonight. Look forward to having the same energy tomorrow. We love you all, and we hope to see you tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. 12 12 noon Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern. I have to learn that we're now doing 8 p.m. Eastern instead of 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, guys. We will be back.
Blessings, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Yes. Oh, goodness. Intergalactic is on fire. Okay, you're having too much fun this holiday. You're having too much fun, but it's good. It's good when you're having fun, and we're all there to see it. So we hope you're going to be back tomorrow. If you can't make it in the afternoon because of work, we will see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, and until then, good night and God bless you.
Good night, everybody.
Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon.